digitized and technology needs to be used. Like with respect to our foreign colleague here, if I can switch to Urdu for a bit, मसला हमारा ये है कि हमें केस लगवाना है अपनी मर्जी के जज के सामने, हमें कागज़ जो है वो फाइलों में बदलने हैं कोर्ट के प्रोसेस के दौरान। हम ये चाहते हैं कि जब हम सिविल कोर्ट या हाई कोर्ट में पेश हों, मे बी नॉट इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट, तो हम अपनी सीनियरिटी और प्रोमिनेंस इस्टेब्लिश करें कि हमारे साथ 10 जूनियर खड़े हुए हों। अगर आप टेक्नोलॉजीज़ को यूज़ करेंगे तो ये सब चीज़ें नहीं हो सकती। डिजिटाइजेशन ऑफ जुडिशल रिकॉर्ड्स एंड लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट्स विल मेक श्योर कि उस तरह के कागज़ बदल ना सकें, केस ऑटोमेटिकली लग सकें एट द अप्रोप्रिएट फोरम एंड बिफोर द अप्रोप्रिएट जजेस बिफोर द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान। तो वो आपकी बात नहीं होगी कि अगर आप बार के अहदेदार हैं तो आपके साथ 10 से 20 लोग पीछे खड़े हैं। ऑनलाइन बिकॉज CPD courses are not becoming the norm, because the Bar Council will not support, for example, lawyers having to pay for continuing professional development, then it's a challenge. So I think a lot needs to be done in 10 years, where one should like to see Pakistan and the legal community through the help of technology is where everything is done digitally. It will increase the common man's confidence in the judicial system. It will increase the efficiency. It will improve the quality of the lawyers that come through. And it will also make sure that people are recognized because of their capability and expertise, and not because of who they are related to, and how prominent they are in bar politics. Those are my 2 cents.
So, I think the way, what I'd like to do is make it more conversational, and let's kind of analyze how legal tech will impact different facets of Pakistan. I think there's a element from the consumer side, more of how access to justice is today. So I'll talk about my experience. I've actually fought cases for the first time in my life in Sindh High Court, which was quite an interesting experience. And actually, I have to be honest, the legal system is pretty effective in Pakistan, at least at the high court level. So it was actually quite amazing to see the fluidity and the speed with which things went. But at a consumer level, the first step is identifying lawyers. And so usually it's a thought, nobody really thinks about law until you're in trouble, or if there's a legal element like signing a lease, or there's a divorce, or some element, usually family law type scenarios. So there's a consumer element that I think platforms like Vakil Online are potentially helping, where consumers reach out, they get answers, and then they connect with lawyers. There's the lawyer element, which I believe in Pakistan you're unable to advertise as a lawyer. And so really lawyers are spread from word of mouth, and the established firms tend to be the ones that people approach. I think some of that is going to get democratized over the coming few years, where you will see that the rates will become, and technology is deflationary worldwide. So some of the rates, at least from my point of view, the minimum rate that for a good lawyer that I saw was, I think it was roughly coming out to about 50 to 60 lakhs per case. So effectively to fight I had to set aside a budget of about 1.5 crore or so to fight 2-3 cases. So I think that's going to come down with time, because technology is going to make quality of lawyers and their ability to connect with consumers more ubiquitous. So jumping more into, I'll jump more into from Bo, your perspective, and then Huma, I'd like to get your take on basically the women's lawyer element, because I do think that there's a whole secondary element of how women become lawyers, and then they don't necessarily practice, and how technology will empower them. And Tamur, I'd like to get your take more from the element of digitizing all the manual case law that's out there, making searching and creating data availability, which in my opinion is very important for algorithms in the future that will potentially disrupt us all, including venture capitalists. So Bo, I'll give it to you. Can you give us your take on legal tech, how you're seeing it evolve around the world, and how do you think it can be applied to Pakistan?
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing, I don't live in the US, by the way. I live in Dubai right now, but my firm's based out of Singapore. I think the exciting part that we're seeing is that it's creating actually a bigger market for legal services. So I think oftentimes when people think that when technology is going to come into the legal profession, it's going to take away business from people. And I think that what it's going to actually allow people to do is focus on the things why most people actually went to law school. I don't think any of us really went to law school to become paper processors and just read contracts over and over and over again. I have to do this all the time when I'm investing in companies, and it's the least interesting thing that I ever do is going through 90-page shareholder agreement and share subscription agreements. But what we're seeing is it's allowing people to actually focus on the part of the law that I think is the most interesting and the most innovative. How do we get out of kind of the administrative nightmares that come with legal and actually focus more on how do we create better laws, how do we better enforce the laws, how do we apply them more effectively, how do we create new policies that are based on them, which I think if I were to guess, most of you when you did go to law school, that was the more interesting part to you as opposed to the underlying administrative business part of running a legal practice, or the administrative and clerical part of essentially having to deal with everything that happens at the court system. So that's the major change that I see, and where most of the funding is going in is how are we building tools that are helping attorneys do their work more effectively and more efficiently.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive question because it's gender related, but I'm going to be very honest about it. And that is very sad statistics. As sad as, maybe sadder than medicine, because we just came through these statistics about women doctors, how many dropouts. And law is worse. I've been in my profession for 20 years, and I've trained a lot of juniors, both in chamber work as well as in court work. And I can tell you the statistics is that the girls who study law, only half of them join some law firm or some chamber or litigation for practice. And out of those girls who join, 50% drop out in the first year because they never thought it was so challenging, or whatever they thought of the profession, it was not up to that, or they were thinking of getting married. And then the ones who are left behind, as soon as they get married, 50% of them, they drop out too, the day they get married. And the ones who are left, as soon as motherhood comes, they'll drop out for good. So you're left with all the very brilliant law graduates, which include Harvard, which includes Cambridge, Oxford, LUMS. I can name you, brilliant girls, all of them. Only those who graduate practice, I would say hardly, even 10% is a large figure. So this is very sorry state of affairs where women are concerned in law. And they give me the reason that they cannot carry on because of family reasons. Law is a very challenging profession. Every profession is challenging, but we have to realize that we have to provide gender facilitation, which means that these women can work as well as look after their families, because that is also part of their roles. And the way to do about is online. COVID opened numerous opportunities. Zoom became the norm. We didn't know much about Zoom before COVID. Now everybody is on Zoom. So what happened was online facilities and online court work will really assist all these women who quit and did not want to quit will rejoin. These are some of the brilliant minds. And how you can even have online court, all the court proceedings. I have myself been engaged with court proceedings in America, in UK, in Netherlands, in Norway, and we have done everything online, including the evidence. Why can't we do the same here with the court systems? Most of the women do not take up court work because they think they cannot be in courts every day. And if you have online court system, which is so easy to manage, the whole world is managing. Why can't we introduce that? Once we do that, all these women who are dropouts will not drop out. None of them will drop out, and this will ensure gender participation. We have a Supreme Court judge, a woman judge, after 70 plus years. It is a sorry state of affairs. And the reason being may not be its patriarchy. The reason may be because there are not enough women staying on in the profession to see the light of the day. Because they are not enabled to see in the profession. So my take is, if you just introduce online court system, court proceedings, it will save time not only for women but also for other male associates. We waste a lot of time in courts, and I have myself been through this process. It is very efficient and it is very timely managed. There is nothing stopping us from doing this. This is the new generation sitting here. All the young women, men, they're all the X generation. And I'm sure we can all come up with these procedures. I want these women, these brilliant girls, to stay in. I was the odd one out. Let me tell you, from my batch, I'm the only one left in this profession. This is sad, and they're foreign graduates also. So I would really encourage that this digitization will ensure gender participation and will ensure that none of you females have to drop out, whether you're court practicing, chambers, corporate, commercial practices, whatever you're doing. So, thank you.
So I think that was great. When we look at the health tech profession, we actually saw the same thing play out as venture capitalists, where a lot of the female doctors that basically stopped practicing after they got married, once they could go online, they actually came back in the profession. So I think we're going to see this evolution once courts digitize, and it's extremely important to accelerate that process. Jumping to that, Temur, as I talked about earlier, data is going to be extremely important for algorithms that are going to create efficiency and access to justice, because I believe we have quite a few cases pending in courts, and usually unless you get a high-power lawyer, your case can pen for years at a time, and justice is effectively denied in many cases, right? By just simply not having cases being heard. In your opinion, what's being done at the data layer? Because I know you're working on some of that stuff, so if you could elaborate, because for me it's very interesting to see how this is going to play out 10 years down the line. And then after you answer that, we're going to jump to the audience for Q&A.
Hello? I'd just like to make an initial comment on what was said earlier by Huma, and I think Huma and Sarah from JPP are trailblazers, कि ये डॉक्टर बहू की तरह वकील बहू फिनोमेना भी पाकिस्तान में बहुत बढ़ गया है, and the technological solutions and platforms will actually help address that issue. So hence why it's also very important, and also important to highlight that a career in law is not just a career before the courts in Pakistan. Right? There are so many different things that can be done, and for example, what Huma is also doing on the corporate side, what Sarah is doing in terms of creating an advocacy platform for prisoners abroad or for people on death row. I think these are important things that people can get involved with, and so that's important. Coming to the data part and how artificial intelligence and everything will play out, I remember this, and I've always thought it was very interesting. I was once told by an uncle who was a judge of the High Court at that time, introducing me to another member of the bench. And, one of the lessons that was given to me at that stage as a young student was that this gentleman who will go unnamed was elevated to the bench because he was known for keeping a very good register of case law on every important point of law. This was one of the key things which stood him out in the profession. What I want to say is that practice in the profession of law in today's world should not be a memory test, right? So it's not about that. I should be able to, and I am able to, I practice in 4 or 5 different jurisdictions in any given month, am able to check what's the latest case law on something on my handheld device, right? So, and it's not physically or humanly possible to carry that kind of repository of case law in your mind. So Pakistan has to go in that direction. We have to move away from this this thing which is regarded with great respect, that somebody has a register and they keep it to themselves as well, right? So, so it's about open sharing of data, which is critical. Pakistan has some projects, as you mentioned, including one with which we are involved, which have digitized most of the case law in Pakistan. Now it's not moved to a level where analytical information can be derived out of that case law through advanced algorithms, but that's where it's going to head. Lawyers in Pakistan, unfortunately, again, that's where I would say we have a confession to make. As lawyers, are not used to paying at the moment. So these platforms are not making too much money at the moment, because even with restrictions on use of passwords and all that, one firm's password is being used by 50 other people at times. So I think we have to recognize, as people do practice law in other jurisdictions, that a certain part of your income from the legal profession has to be spent on legal resources. You have to make it a cost of doing business. That's the only way that legal tech initiatives in the country can come up, can become sustainable, can become profitable. But as you earlier said, I would encourage everybody here to think about that. In many other countries, there are not dozens, hundreds of legal tech startups at any given time trying to explore so many different elements of the law. In Pakistan, we don't even have a dozen. So, and those two are not really economically sustainable at the moment, or investor ready. So let's think out of the box, please. And if I can be, a spoiler here, can I request everybody to tone down your personal conversations? I don't think that's very appropriate to the panel who is sitting here, including our foreign guests. So please, if the volume of your conversations can go down a bit, then we appreciate it.
You want to do question? We open the house to question and answers, please. So, 5 minutes, we're opening the house for open question and answers. Please raise your hands. Whoever wants to ask the question, we can send the mic. All right. There is. Give her a mic.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ishal Khatna from Punjab University Law College. The question I would like to ask is that everything that has been mentioned till so far is very much needed for the Pakistani society and Pakistani justice system. But as we know that we have the cities which contains people which were not very much aware of the emergence of technology that you were talking about and the future needs. So what are the methods that this forum plans on taking of providing those people awareness of to reach to the technology that is needed? Am I audible?
You're asking how to encourage lawyers to use technology.
Not the lawyers. As the process is going to be digitalized, so the litigants have the normal people that are going to approach the lawyers also have to access the technology. And in that specific scenario, we can see that the Pakistani people are not much fluent, especially the people belonging to village or the people belonging to small cities are not very much fluent with technology. So what is the basic propaganda or the basic mode through which the people are going to be aware of this forum?
Yeah, I know.
देखिए मैं सिर्फ ये कहूँगा कि during COVID and as Judge Sahab also said कि technology is here to stay. Pakistan has moved to e-wallets. People working in our homes and offices send salaries back home through their mobile phones. People order grocery at home through apps now. Many of you use Uber and Careem. So I think when a trend comes and if people know this is a more beneficial way of accessing justice, people will start adopting the technology. So I think it's a chicken and egg situation, but that should not prevent the development of technological solutions. Obviously, easy to understand, local languages में उर्दू समेत पंजाबी, सिंधी, पश्तो, बलोची सब में होना चाहिए. तो वो चीज़ें होंगी तो I think that will happen automatically.
And one other thought is that, so I invest in companies that only serve low income and lower middle income communities. And one of the things that we've found is you have to kind of hit originally who are going to be the early adopters. So I think everybody in this room, if you all start adopting these technologies, it makes it much easier to kind of have that trickle down effect to create that situation. We cannot expect the folks who are the most disenfranchised to be the earliest adopters of anything. They have no power. They don't have the ability to be the early adopters of risk in all of these situations. And one of the things that I think has been exciting about this panel and thinking about the fact that there's even a forum for this is we've talked a lot about how technology is going to change the legal profession. And one of the things about this group here is actually, as people who are involved in creating laws, enforcing laws, advocating on people's behalf, is think about how the legal profession can help change the technology industry for the better and drive adoption. Oftentimes, laws in the United States and other markets are sometimes the hindrances to the adoption of new technologies in financial services, in kind of any sector. And I think that that's one of the things for me that gets most powerful is as we've watched countries like Indonesia, the laws have also helped change, and people wanted to change those laws in order to make it so technology could thrive, while also being focused on protecting people and making sure that the right safeguards in place. Because oftentimes when we think about the law and technology, we're dealing with people's lives here. It's not whether they lost a couple dollars on, using an app that, watching some video on that was cool or something. It's about how this has a real impact on people's lives. And as we like to say, sometimes technology, sometimes society evolves with technology, and sometimes technology evolves with society. And the question here is, how does the legal profession and how does Pakistan want to really do this dance between the co-evolution of society and technology and the law in this whole thing? So you have a lot of power in this room to actually help push things forward.
I don't know if there's any more questions. Oh, there are. Oh, wow. Quite a few. Go ahead.
First of all, good afternoon to this esteemed panelist. My name is Ghazal Ali Khan, and I'm a law student from Canadian College. My question to the panel is, as one of the fundamental elements of justice is equality, and a new study about the digital population of Pakistan has revealed that the country's internet penetration stood at 54% during the year 2021. The study said 66% of internet users were based in urban areas, while 47% belonged to rural areas, and the majority were male population. So how, in your opinion, can we bridge this gap, especially in respect of bridging gender disparity? Thank you.
Sure, I can,
Give me a sec, I would like to suggest we take 2 questions and then we can answer.
So can you take off your mask when you speak? We can't really hear you.
अस्सलाम सर, मेरा नाम मुस्तफ़ा खान है, मैं 3rd ईयर लॉ स्टूडेंट हूँ यूनिटी से। सर मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि सर जिस तरह वर्ल्ड इवॉल्व हो रहा है और टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स पाकिस्तान में भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई हैं, तो सर इसके इन परसुएंट टू डैट सर हम लोग सर हमारी कोर्ट्स के अंदर काफ़ी ज़्यादा पेपर का यूज़ होता है, फाइल्स का यूज़ होता है। सर हम लोग क्या इनिशिएटिव ले सकते हैं कि हमारी कोर्ट्स भी पेपरलेस जाएँ, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड के अंदर इन द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड ऐसा हो रहा है कि कोर्ट्स जो हैं वो कम्प्लीटली पेपरलेस जा रही हैं और सब कुछ प्लेन्स और रिटन स्टेटमेंट सारा कुछ जो है वो ऑनलाइन सबमिट हो रहा है, तो हम लोग उस तरफ कैसे जा सकते हैं?
Yeah, can we answer some? I don't think we're going to remember all the questions. So, look, on the data side, it's a process of evolution. So, if you look at how the internet evolved, you had dial-up, which was very slow. Then you had DSL, which was a little faster. Then you had fiber optic, which was much faster. And then you had mobility, where you could move with data. and so there were all sorts of new solutions. In Pakistan, I think we actually have fairly decent connectivity in terms of in urban Pakistan. Once the launch of 5G happens, the cost of data is actually going to come down, and so you're going to see it spread to more and more rural areas as well as they install towers. And it's a gradual process. So eventually, the adoption rate for 5G is probably going to be about 3 years. For 3G and 4G, it was about 6 years. So it keeps coming down. There's also platforms like Starlink. There's a Chinese version of Starlink that is going to be data subscription from the satellite. That's also going to change a lot of the rural parts of the world. So think of it more from that perspective. So I think it's gradual adoption.
आपका सवाल था कि कोर्ट सिस्टम जब हमारे अपडेटेड ही नहीं है तो ना ई फाइलिंग हो सकती है, ना ब्रीफ्स उसमें दिए जा सकते हैं, ना एप्लीकेशंस ऑनलाइन दी जाती हैं। आपका बिल्कुल सवाल ठीक है, लेकिन और ये कैसे होगा? देखिए, जब फ़ोन आया था तो ऐप्स का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था। अब आप सब लोग ऐप्स यूज़ करते हैं। फॉर एवरीथिंग वी आर यूजिंग ऐप्स। सो सिमिलरली वंस इट्स क्रिएटेड, जब कोड सिस्टम ये क्रिएट कर देगा तो आप लोग भी ऑटोमेटिकली अपग्रेड करके अपने आप को ऐप्स पे या ई फाइलिंग में ले आएंगे। यस, वी आर द थर्ड वर्ल्ड, बट इवन इफ वी आर द थर्ड वर्ल्ड, वी आर यूजिंग अ मोबाइल टेक्नोलॉजी सिस्टम। योर मोबाइल ऑनलाइन बैंकिंग भी यूज कर रहे हैं आप लोग अपनी पेमेंट्स भी थ्रू मोबाइल फोन करते हैं, क्रेडिट कार्ड भी थ्रू मोबाइल फोन यूज कर लेते हैं। अगर ये सब कर सकते हैं तो व्हाई नॉट लॉ एंड ई फाइलिंग? सो ये ऑटोमेटिक है, जब वो सिस्टम आ जाएगा तो आप भी अपग्रेड हो जाएंगे। ये मेरा आपको आंसर।
And also, if you can address the gender gap question.
Down in the panel. Is there more or yeah?
Yes,
Thank you.
there are a couple more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to the panelists and attendees for your enthusiastic participation during the first session. It seems clear that there is much opportunity for young lawyers and innovators to push the boundaries and raise the bar for all of us who interact with the law. Moving forward, we will now begin the legal tech product demonstrations. They are in the following order. First up, we have lawyer.pk by Nida Usman Chaudhary. As a member of the Women in Law group myself, which developed it, I'm really excited that women have their own digital legal portal. Next up, we have Modasib.pk, a portal that connects citizens directly to Modasib offices across Pakistan. And towards the end, Vakeel Online, of which I am proud to be a part, a platform dedicated to transforming the way in which citizens access justice.
Thank you so much. I probably need some support there, but this is what we mean by creating an enabling environment, and I suppose that for next year's conference we can make this note. But anyway, I'm going to try my best to speak about what we've done here. Lawyer.pk was launched last year with the support of the Federal Ministry of Law and Justice, in particular Barrister Malika Bukhari, and Group Development Pakistan, Ms. Valentine Khan. They were very kind to support what has now transformed as a dream into a reality, and into this portal and a dedicated space for and by female lawyers. And the reason why I feel that this is very important is because it creates disruption on two fronts. And my colleague, Ms. Huma just highlighted some of the structural and invisible barriers that women face in the profession in words, in much better words than I ever could have done it myself. So I'm not going to repeat that, but I'm really happy to present lawyer.pk with the same vision and with the same passion that it was built in order to counter the same challenges and the same structural disadvantages that we were facing collectively in the profession. And this is pretty much based on our work as part of Women in Law Initiative Pakistan. Through the various dialogues, we realized there are two fundamental issues and the two fundamental challenges that female lawyers face. And those are that we don't have as many networking opportunities as our male counterparts. And secondly, we don't have the sort of visibility as they do. And so lawyer.pk is an answer to both those challenges as a solution that we have presented. We're very proud of this work because it's a one-stop dedicated portal that not just puts out there practitioners that you can contact directly from the portal. So any clients are able to search the practitioners with reference to their practice area or their city or their tier level. So if you want to look for someone who's an advocate High Court or an advocate Supreme Court, you can go to the Find Practitioners section and do that. In addition to that, of course, networking is a very important aspect within the profession, and it adds to not just your growth, but connects you to opportunities. So there's a discussion forum, which is basically a step of an advancement over our Women in Law WhatsApp group that was the basis of developing the discussion forum. And in it you can share different judgments, you can post different topics, you can take opinion polls. So it's a very interactive forum that way. But we also have legal commentaries, we also have blogs, and some of them are styled on the famous Humans of New York style blog posts, so that the experiences of female lawyers can be documented. And more importantly, we have historic sections, we have timelines, we have infographics, and we have helplines and numbers over there that you can call directly from the app. The app is available in Android and both Apple formats, so it's actually pretty interactive, which you can download on your phones, or you can use it on the internet as well on your laptops. So that's that. But the most important feature is the information desk, which you will find in the resources tab. And over there, you will basically have very easy infographics to basic legal questions like how to obtain your license from the Bar Council. And over there, the infographics will take you to a step-by-step sort of process of how and where to go, what kind of documents you need, and all of that. And likewise, not just with reference to the licenses, but to other basic questions on how to navigate your way around in the legal profession, which female lawyers are mostly not well versed with. All of those have been reduced as infographics in that section. We have reports, we have the Pakistan Journal of Diversity and Inclusion, so there's a lot of dynamic material that is available out there. And in doing so, in bringing that visibility and networking opportunity for female lawyers, we hope to answer the question of where are the women? Because every time you talk about nominating judges for the positions in the High Court or in the Supreme Court, or you talk about getting more women in the bar councils, you're faced with this, you're confronted with this question, you're literally thrown at you. But कामयाब ख़वातीन हैं कहाँ? काबिल ख़वातीन हैं कहाँ? तो भाइयों यहाँ है, please access कीजिए. Before I leave, I'm just going to take a minute and request the investors, the colleagues, the stakeholders to please support this initiative. It's a very new intervention. November 24th, we launched it in Islamabad. Just been 2 to 3 months. We need a lot of support to take it forward. इस पे register करें, अपनी profiles बनाएं. आपकी सिक्योरिटी और प्राइवेसी का खास ख्याल रखा गया. आपका पर्सनल ईमेल एड्रेस कभी भी नहीं एक्सेसिबल होगा फ्रॉम द पोर्टल, एंड आप उसी के अंदर के सिस्टम्स को यूज़ करके क्लाइंट से कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं और डिफरेंट वर्क अपॉर्चुनिटीज़, रिसर्च अपॉर्चुनिटीज से भी कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. आवाज़ का जो देखते हुए मैं कोशिश करूँगा उर्दू में बोलूँ so that everybody can understand, because थोड़ा सा we've got a problem with the sound. I am here to introduce Vakil Online, और Vakil Online को as one of the persons who's very closely associated with Vakil Online. ये एक initiative है जो जनाब असफंदियार कसूरी साहब और जस्टिस प्रोजेक्ट पाकिस्तान ने मिलकर लिया था, और जो मकसद था उसका, और वो प्राइमरीली मकसद ये था कि हम लॉ के अंदर टेक्नोलॉजी को इंट्रोड्यूस करवाएं, एंड सेकेंडली वकला को उनके पॉसिबल क्लाइंट्स से किसी तरह कनेक्ट करें, कीपिंग इन व्यू द लीगल प्रैक्टिशनर्स एंड बार काउंसिल्स एक्ट, कि किसी तरह हम उसके साथ उसको एसोसिएट मत करें. So उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वकील ऑनलाइन हैज़ बीन वेरी वेरी सक्सेसफुल. Thank you very much, sir, for coming today. Thank you very much, sir. And in that connection, I would now like to introduce our three panelists. I will be moderating the session. Firstly, we have Justice Ali Bakr Najfi Saab, the Honorable Judge from the Lahore High Court. He will be speaking on behalf of the Lahore High Court. Then we have Barrister Ali Zafar Saab. Okay. And we have Barrister Ali Zafar Saab, who's a senator and a senior lawyer, and also heads the committee in the Senate for Technology and Law and Justice. And our third panelist is Raja Yasir Humayun, who's a provincial minister and also looking after the IT sector in Punjab. So mainly before starting this talk, we have a small presentation of Vakeel Online, and I would like everybody to patiently see it, and then inshallah we will start off our panel discussion.
What if I told you there is a digital space where tens of thousands of Pakistani citizens have received free legal advice, where information regarding basic legal rights is being disseminated to millions monthly, and that this space was being powered by a growing community of socio-ethically inclined lawyers, that they were serving their communities and building successful commercial practices all at the same time? If I did tell you this, I'd be speaking of Vakeel Online, Pakistan's most rapidly growing digital legal ecosystem, one that is transforming the way citizens access justice. That transformation is set to continue with the introduction of the new Vakeel Online digital app, one that puts legal awareness and legal assistance quite literally in the palm of your hands.
Hello. Sorry. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mohammed Abdul Ghani. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Vakeel Online. I'm a lawyer and a software programmer by profession. In September 2020, Vakeel Online began as a small Facebook group of 300 members and a handful of lawyers. And today, Vakeel Online exists over multiple social media platforms and has over 60,000 subscribers, including thousands of lawyers. We have a reach. Vakeel Online has 300,000 engagements a month and around 3 million reach of netizens. With the addition of the VakeelOnline.pk platform that we launched in last November and our launch of our newly built mobile app, Vakeel Online is definitely now a potential game changer, which is going to transform the way in which citizens interact with the law.
That's actually very true, because it is truly a game changer for women. For women like me who are trying to build their practice, and for those women who endure hardships and require immediate and discreet legal support. Vakeel Online is a platform that gives hope to those vulnerable citizens who lack the means to protect themselves against the harsh realities of the criminal justice system. Vakeel Online is a platform that gives you equal opportunity to build capacity and practice, regardless of your background or your gender. In effect, Vakeel Online has empowered the next generation lawyers. One amongst them, our very youngest team member, Vishal Shakir.
Thank you, Ramla. In 2020, my father passed away. May his soul rest in peace. It was the most devastating experience for me because I had to be more financially and professionally successful Being the eldest one, I had to support the family. So I joined Vakil Online community group. I started researching on the family law queries that members were asking. And within a year, I had researched and answered over 200 queries encompassing family law, criminal law, and cyber harassment cases. To this date, I can proudly say that I have taken more than 100 cases, including pro bono and paid, and the list continues to grow. I have done this on my own, and for the upcoming lawyers with Vakil Online, so can you.
Vishal and many others from the next generation are using Vakil Online. But the real beneficiaries are the citizens of Pakistan who will have access to justice right in the palm of their hands. Thank you, everyone.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम चाचा जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम चाची जान, कैसे हैं आप लोग?
वालेकुम। आज फिर मारा है उसने तुम्हें?
नहीं, ये तो बस ऐसे ही काम करते करते।
कब तक पर्दे डालती रहोगी? छोड़ दो ऐसे खराब आदमी को।
कैसे छोड़ दे? अकेली बच्ची कहाँ जाएगी?
कहाँ अकेली हूँ चाची जान, 2 बच्चे हैं मेरे और वो मुझे कस्टडी कभी नहीं देगा।
हाँ बेटा, बच्चों के लिए सब सहना पड़ता है।
मुझे समझ नहीं आता मैं क्या करूं।
फौरन तलाक लो उससे।
तलाक का ठप्पा लगवा ले। नहीं बेटा, ऐसी गलती कभी मत करना। परेशानियां, तकलीफें सब औरत की तकदीर का हिस्सा है। वक्त के साथ सब ठीक हो जाएगा। कोई भी शादी परफेक्ट नहीं होती, बर्दाश्त करो।
मशवरे तो हजारों मिल जाएंगे, लेकिन अगर इंसाफ चाहिए तो सिर्फ वकील की मदद से मिलेगा। घरेलू तशद्दुद, तलाक या बच्चों की कस्टडी, मामला कोई भी हो, अपने हक को पहचानो। वकील ऑनलाइन पे जाओ और प्रोफेशनल लीगल एडवाइस हासिल करो, क्योंकि अब कानून हमारे हाथ में है। वकील ऑनलाइन, वकील करो। वकील ऑनलाइन, वकील करो।
आज के बाद कानून आपके हाथ में है।
थैंक यू सो मच।
And now I'd like to invite Motasib George PK. That was a bit too loud. Excuse me for that. I think we're going to go ahead with the second panel because we're running short on time. Barrister Mohammed Evan Pansota.
Without wasting any time, I will now invite my panelists. So we will start off with Senator Ali Zafar Sahab. Please come and join us on the stage, sir. Following the separation of powers, we have now
the Honorable Justice Ali Baaghi Nachvi Sahab from the judiciary side, sir. Please. And now, to represent Punjab government, we've got Raja Yasir Sahab, who's the IT Minister, Government of Punjab. Since we are bereft of time, so what I'll do is that I'll straight away delve into questions. We will start off with Senator Ali Zafar Saab. Sir, how do you see this technology as a game changer, especially now that you're in the Senate and you're also heading the Law and Justice Committee? So how do you see this technology as a game changer for the Senate in the future?
जी, thank you very much. I thought कि जज साहब पहले शुरू करेंगे, but since आपने मेरे से पहले पूछ लिया, आपकी इजाज़त हो, तो I will start. Legal profession जो है हमारा, I think some of you are lawyers, some of you are not, but legal profession is a very traditional profession. We depend on traditional practices. Over the course of years, and I think Judge Saab will also accept what I'm saying, judges and lawyers have developed certain practices which they don't want to change. We became complacent. The world moved on. IT technology came in. It was incorporated in respective legal systems. I think, if I'm not mistaken, perhaps Singapore was one of the first ones to start this. We were happy with the way things were. We were happy that the cases were being fixed as we wanted. We were happy that the arguments were taking place in that slow, nice way that we were used to. And then some of the judges made some innovations. They were resisted by the traditionalists, and whatever efforts that they made were thwarted. And then came COVID. COVID actually put our traditional legal profession, traditional courts into turmoil, because we had to do something. And I remember that we were right in the middle, the beginning of COVID, when Judge Saab called me and he said, I am having a video conference in my courtroom. I was at home and I said, sir, video conference in the Lahore High Court? He said, yes, we have to make stop-gap arrangements. We have to see what we need to do in these COVID times. And so we had the first meeting of lawyers when we discussed how we can use technology to look at COVID and to see how we can redress the problems that had been raised because courts had shut down. That was the time that we realized, and to answer your question, that was the time we realized that maybe there's an opportunity in adversity. And the opportunity is that we traditional lawyers and traditional judges who have been resisting change, we need to now make this stopgap arrangement and have SOPs for the new normal. We thought that this is an opportunity that we can make IT a normal, standard operating procedure. Use this for video conferencing, for filings, for witness statements as much as we can. I remember Chief Justice of that time, Justice Khosa. He met me also and he said, Ali, what do we do? And I said, sir, let us innovate something. Let us start video conferencing for Supreme Court. And we then called He then took over, he liked the idea, and he made that dream come true. So today in the Supreme Court, as you were told by the Honorable Judge, we have a facility where we can be sitting in Lahore and in Karachi and arguing a case in Islamabad. So these are innovations that we need to do, and I fully am on board in terms of what you are doing. The two problems that you will talk about today, I think are very important to understand from the legal point of view when we talk about using IT. One, of course, is the user issues. I call them the user issues. And one are the lawyers' issues. The users' issues, of course, relate to the first fundamental question is that will it be in Urdu or English, because the language that we normally speak is Urdu. So how will the technology work with the language? The second issue, of course, is that not many people use technology or are literate enough to use technology. And the problem arises that how many at the end of the day will be able to use this technology? For the legal point of view, of course, the first important thing as a lawyer I will tell you is that we want to appear in court. We want to look at the judge eye to eye, and we feel that the human contact will be missing if we have only videos. And as Judge Sahab will bear me out, a lot depends on the eye contact. A lot depends on the way you present that case. And you need to see the judge's expressions and his body language in order to understand whether he's with you or not. That gets missed out in videos, so that's a problem we need to surmount. The second problem is witnesses. When we talk about video and use of technology for cross-examination of witnesses, we again, as a traditional lawyer, suffer because we want to have the witness under our spell so that we can get the truth out of him, and that is missing. Third legal issue is, of course, the question of payment. Will the client pay me if I'm sitting in my office the same money that he will pay me if I'm actually appearing in the court? That is also a third aspect. So there are these few aspects that we need to surmount. But having said that, there is no question that we have been ranked as a legal system, not as courts. As a legal system, we have been ranked at the bottom in the rankings. And the main problem is the delays in the cases. And I think we need IT, we need the systems, we need the innovations that you have talked about in your previous panels. We need them in order to surmount the issue of delay in the courts. And case management systems, the filing systems, all the various apps that you have, we need to use them, and we need to use them not just in one or two courts, we need to have a holistic approach. A lot of problems you will face, yes, but they're all surmountable and they're necessary. I spoke to the Prime Minister of Pakistan recently. Recently means just when the COVID was there. And I said, look, our party has the symbol of justice. We are called Insaf. And Insaf means justice. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to sit with the courts. We need to partner with the courts. And we need to fund the courts so that we can actually have a national uniform IT system operating from the lowest court, the civil court, to the highest, the Supreme Court. So let us partner that. And he was very excited about it. He said, make that announcement, make that dream come true. So we are working on it, and this innovation that you are doing here, I'm so happy that it is tying in with the with the policy and with the vision of the sitting government in this country. Thank you.
Thank you for these words of encouragement. And Senator Saab had asked a very pertinent question, that why was it not the Honorable Judge in the first place? We wanted a judicial review of your administrative action. So we kept you in the second place. So now I'll move to Justice Najmi Saab. High Court, and especially in particular Lahore and all other high courts, have been very, very dynamic as far as revamping the justice system is concerned, specifically with reference to technology. And I can bear out that your court is probably one of the pioneers when it comes to e-filing, e-appearance, I would say, and you've got these screens there. So sir, how important do you think it is, what Senator Saab just highlighted, that the justice system basically depends on how a judge conducts his court. So how important is it for you to conduct it with technology, and how important is it for the lawyers to support you in that, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Barrister Ahmed Pansuta, for giving me an opportunity to be part of this very important high-powered panel. I think the Senator Barrister Ali Zafar has very rightly pointed out that it is the time for all of us to ensure in our own end that the technology is thoroughly introduced into our legal system. There were initially 3-4 important questions. First of all, in my own domain, question number 1 was whether we, the judges, to start with the superior courts, are willing and ready to adopt the information technology for the purposes of dispensation of justice. For this purpose, instead of talking and delivering lectures and listening to different ideas, we in the Lahore High Court have decided to do it practical way. As Senator Ali Zafar has pointed out, that the time at which we started this practice of using IT in our court system was the time of pandemic. I think we were lucky to have developed a sort of atmosphere in which everyone was willing to adopt it. Based on that experience, as you said, rightly said, that the world has altogether changed. Now, distance do not matter much, as it used to matter before the pandemic. And every profession, every institution, every department has taken initiative in this respect. Now what we have done is that we have, in my courtroom, has done this digital court system as a pilot project in Punjab, in the High Court level. And now it has been rolled on to other courts also, and sometime they are doing it, judges are doing it. The very first challenge before me was that whether when I'm doing it, can I do it properly? Do I feel comfortable in doing it? Or whether the image which I will give to the impression which I give to the public, to my audience, is that of a judge, is that of a court? And whether the legal fraternity will accept this innovation as a right course of action. And I'm very happy to report you that it was a great success. The lawyers who appeared in my court, they were all very happy to see what is going on. Not only happy, they were satisfied. And they were thinking to start 2 other things which we are already working on. We are already working on it. They said that we have to come from long way, from suburb of Punjab, villages, tehsils, districts. Is it not possible that we can come online? We can come on remote, 1. And number 2, is it not possible to file the cases online, as was just being discussed in the panel number 1, very elaborately? So we have started working on it. It's a good opportunity for us to even interact and understand that what the legislature is going to do. And as you said, that the government at the highest level has shown the commitment to adopt the technology in the legal affairs. So, for that purpose, e-filing, we are ready to adopt this e-filing as an alternate and as a supplementary course of action for filing cases. And we are also willing and in fact planned to switch over, not totally, but to adopt it simultaneously and side by side the remote hearing procedures. And you know, for a pilot project, it is to be done at a limited scale and seeing the impediments and seeing the, the outcome, the results, we can keep on improving it. But I'm very glad to see here that the Justice Project of Pakistan has, collected a number of good lawyers. They are the future lawyers of our country. This whole system which we are developing is for them to take benefit of it. What I can do is I can offer my court to all of you to come and visit and see the practical things happening, the digital courts in action. And please give me the feedback. How can we further improve it? And how can we further, advance this project? As rightly pointed out by Mr. Ali Zafar, that two areas are very important. One, that it is in the traditional way, and law is, where they're very slow in change. It is always important to have eye-to-eye contact with the judge. And when there's a poor bandwidth, your internet is slow. It become very difficult for a lawyer to, understand and to assess the demeanor of the judges and to understand the queries of the judges. But we have no other way out. We have to go this way. Sooner or later, we have to adopt it. The judges have to train themselves. The lawyers have to train themselves. The litigants have to be prepared for that. I understand it will become very difficult for a lawyer to, receive a fee and then convince the lawyer that I will go and appear in the court. Then when fine morning he says, he is the judge on your palm laptop. You will say, what are you talking about? I have not paid you for this. But the fact is, if the judges are trained, if the judges have their own, approach to make this system a successful one, I think we are going to achieve it sooner or later. And the reason why I'm saying this so is that you are doing so much on the laptop. You are doing so much on the mobile smartphones. Your banking, your payments, your bills, as you said, everyone knows it, and it's been discussed earlier. So what I personally think is that we don't have to build it vertically, horizontally. I mean that all the departments like police, like executive, like revenue department, they have to be digitized so that we can have a sort of a very compatible sort of a system in which we can keep the matter rolling on. I think these are the areas on which we have to work on, and this is a very good forum because executive, legislature, and judiciary also joining together, and we have to talk about the policy.
Thank you very much, sir, and very rightly pointed out that as far as Najfi Saab's court is concerned, I can personally vouch for that it is completely technologically a different court in Lahore High Court, and I have never seen such courts. And see, what's more interesting is that people from his age bracket are taking technology more seriously and they're implementing that. That's a very, very healthy sign to see in Lahore High Court. And as far as the fee part is concerned, I think we need to give 2 or 3 different hearings so that the client can be satisfied that my lawyer has done something, and then his fee can be justified. So now moving to the executive and here the government's part, I will, because see we are bereft of time, as I've said, I will ask Raja Saab to just highlight the efforts that government intends to make, both on the provincial and federal level. And since he's one of the most important ministers and the most liked ministers of the Honorable Prime Minister, so I would like you to just highlight the future of technology for the government.
Thank you very much. Our government, ever since it came into power, has been very keen on implementing technology, use of technology in governance to improve governance. And although it was started many years ago by the QLE government, the Punjab Information Technology Board, ever since we have come in power, we have made it grow exponentially. Almost all departments, almost all I would say, I won't talk about law department yet, but all other departments have taken this up and have become computerized to a certain extent. I'll start with the higher education department and the school education department. The very simple processes which can easily be done without going to offices are being done at home now. The transfer process, the payment of different dues. We have developed the e-pay system. Even in the agriculture sector where people are not that computer literate, we have started this e-Abhyana system where the landowners can pay their dues online, and we have improved the payment system like many folds. The dues which have been received by using this e-Abhyana system, we have increased it 10 folds, I would say, in the last 2 years. So, of course, we have, these are all basic things which have been done in the first world, like 20 years ago. We are at least 2 decades behind in computerization of our departments. And the basic things which are pretty normal these days in the first world, we are just starting on them. I'll talk in particular about the law department. First of all, of course, we need to automate all the filing process, automate all the case law actually, for it will be very easy for not only for the lawyers but for the judges, of course. I'm sure you have done something on that, but if you use AI on that, use AI algorithms, it will become much easier for all the community actually, not only for the lawyers but even for the clients to understand where they stand in a particular case. And eventually, where this is leading to automation at the lower court level. 2 years ago, I was at Silicon Valley and I saw a presentation where they suggest that the lower courts can be totally automated, and that decisions can be made by the artificial intelligence software, and eventually if there is an appeal, even then only then they'll go to the higher courts. So cases which have already got case law which is very clear, I don't think in the future anything would be needed. No pleading, no time would be wasted. They'll be sorted immediately, and then only if there's an appeal, they'll go to the higher courts and then decided by real justices. So that's where we are leading to. Even in the medical profession, you must have heard about the Dr. Watson software by IBM. It's taking the physicians out of equation, and that's happening very quickly. I was very delighted to see that the breast cancer operations done by a computer using that software is 90% more efficient than those done by the actual surgeons. So this is something amazing. In the future, we'll be not only law profession is comparatively it's simpler to automate compared to medical, and even if the medical profession is going that far, I'm sure it will be much faster for the legal community to adopt this. So the step which has been taken by this forum, I really want to appreciate that also. That's the first step, and I think, but we'll have to move ahead at a very high speed to catch up with the first world. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the questions from the audience, there's just one quick comment that I want from all 3 panelists, that we're talking about the good things and we're talking about things which are improving on, in their respective fields. But I'm sure there are impediments as well. There is severe resistance as well to the use of technology, because it's not a very simple thing to simply adopt and start using it. So I'll start off with Justice Najfi Saab, and I'll ask him to highlight a bit of resistance, if there is any. First of all, if there is resistance, and yes, if there is any resistance, please highlight that.
Yes, Mr. Pansota, whenever you start a new thing, there's always resistance, particularly in the field of law, because it's supposed to be very traditional, as pointed out by Barrister Ali. It's a very traditional field, and your people all stakeholders are very slow in change, in particular in this area, because because of a number of reasons. First of all, I have decided to do it myself. I wanted to create example from my own practice. And believe you me, it is so comfortable, it is so easy to handle it. And let me say that we belong to a generation, we were never taught in computers. When we did our law, and so did Mr. Ali, there was no concept of law, at least in Pakistan. But when we entered into the profession, gradually the things started changing. Early 90s and late 90s and so on and so forth. Then now, everything is in computer. So we have changed we've seen the entire change from one generation to another. And I think we had to cope with the situation. It was a very difficult situation because we were totally computer illiterate people. Even if we are not today we are not very fluent of this computer technology. But we know that this is the future. And there is no way out. And we are trying to prepare a system for this coming generation, the new professionals who are all computer literate. I think change is always supposed to be with resistance, but it is your resolve and your commitment to yourself and your determination which makes it happen. And I think I've been supported from within my institution. My Chief Justice and my other judges, they were supporting of this idea. And the lawyers community, the office bearers, and the Supreme Court Bar Association, Pakistan Bar Council, and the Supreme High Court Bar Association, District Court. Because they know that this is the future of our profession. If we, जितना हम इसमें delay करेंगे, उतना ही हमें नुकसान होगा. So as quick as possible if we switch over to them. And I think whosoever lawyers में से जो भी करना चाहेंगे, उनको ये यकीन होना चाहिए कि ये एक न एक दिन होना है. और they should be prepared that this thing going to happen one day. And if they, prepare themselves by use of technology more frequently, by preparation of cases more often, and then appearing in the court and doing the practice for this situation, it will be better for them.
Thank you. Let me tell you the story. The question is, change will be resisted or not resisted, how will we move forward? I came back in 1984-85 after doing my bar, joined my father's firm. We had 6 typists at that time, typing away. A dictation would take place, we'd wait for maybe an hour for the draft to come. SM Zafar Saab would look at the draft, he would change 2 words here and there, and the thing would go back again. So we'd wait for another 1 hour and eventually end up with the draft at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I got a computer. I got 1 credit in this IT thing which I'm telling the story about. So I got a computer. It was one of those big screens with that, thing. And it had a dot matrix printer. So what it would, it was like this printer that would go zin, 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 and then you'd print out with small dots together so that it looked almost like a word. I said, let's just dictate this and we will change on the computer, and in 2 minutes we'll get the next print. So a number of lawyers were there in the firm, much senior to me, who then became Supreme Court judges also. They said, what are you doing? This is nonsense. How will we even read in this screen? So I filed my first case in the Lahore High Court with this dot matrix printout. I signed it, the client signed it, we verified it, and we filed it in the High Court, the writ. They rejected it. And at that time a client, imagine that you have only a few clients and then the claim gets rejected because it's not being properly filed. So I went to the office, I said, why? They said our rule is that we need something in original, and this is not original. I said it is original. It is not typed originally, but it is signed originally. So they said no. I went to the then Chief Justice. I said, sir, this is the new world. This is actually a printout from a computer. So the Chief Justice said, how will you print out from the computer? This is not original. We have rules of the High Court which say it has to be original. So where's the typing? Look, this is all the same words. It's all the same lines. It can't be human. So I said, sir, I will demonstrate it to you. So I brought the dot matrix computer and I actually showed it to him. And he said, yes, I think this is original and we will amend this. And we actually managed, that was the first, so that's my contribution to your IT, that the first petition that was accepted in the High Court on computer through that dot matrix system was this. So there was a change, not many people adopted that process, but slowly now I don't think there's a single petition filed in the court with those typing things. So innovation has to come. I pointed out a few objections that were there. Another objection I'll point out, which we need to overcome. All these have to be overcome. One of the objections is that through the IT system, things become more transparent. For example, filing will no longer be in the control of people. It will be in the system. So if you file a case, it will be fixed before a court, not of your choosing or liking, but chosen by that system. That will be resisted. And that resistance we've seen that in the courts before, when some innovation was being made. So resistances will be there, breakdowns will be there. Another major criticism or objection to this, which I will point out, but you need to solve it for us, is the question of secrecy and the question of information being leaked and the question of integrity in terms of hacking. So what if the record is hacked on the computer and a wrong judgment is given? These are matters, serious matters that I said need to be considered when we are adopting these policies and improving our system, but they are necessary. These criticisms are not being made because I think that it is not needed. I think it is the requirement of the day. We should have done it maybe 10 years ago. But with judges like this who are actually practically doing it in their courts, I think I see a vision where we will, inshallah, be the 21st century, 22nd century, if necessary, legal system in this Asian part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And just to quickly add to that, what happened with Ali Saab in 1984, I remember in 2007 taking an iPad to the High Court, and मुझे भी जज साहब की बात याद है, ये क्या फजूल चीज़ खोल ली आपने? मैंने कहा जी मैं इसको बंद कर देता हूँ. This is an iPad, इसमें सारे statutes होते हैं, हर चीज़ होती है. इसको बंद करें. Read from the federal statutes, PLD. मैं कहा जी बिल्कुल ठीक है. So yes, change is difficult, but gradually now in High Court, everybody is obviously allowing the use of iPad and technology. So sir, final question to you, same कि आपके अपने department में क्या impediments हैं? Government में कितने employees या सब लोग कितने resistant हैं इसको, ताकि हम उसको address कर सकें?
The biggest problems we are facing in the government is because of the low-level bureaucracy. If you take them out of equation, that makes them irrelevant to an extent. Of course, it stops corruption. Things get more transparent, and of course, pension भी खत्म हो जाती है. तो the people say कि फिर हम अफसर बने क्यों सी नहीं अगर असी सब कुछ कंप्यूटर नहीं कर रहे हैं. So that is the biggest problem we are facing, and I try to implement this in the cabinet also, and of course because most of the senior politicians, they are not tech savvy, so they were finding it very difficult to do the proceedings using a computer. So they said that let's keep this out of it at least for one more term, and then when we have more younger ministers, maybe we can try that later. So, I mean, there is resistance, but it's going to happen sooner or later. Thanks.
I just wanted to add that the Ali Saab's example and my example, because we have seen things being transformed, signifies two things. One, that over the last 20 years or so, we have traveled all the way from non-computer world to computer world. And with this pace, with this progress, we, at the point where we are now, is a great significant achievement. It's unbelievable. I mean, we could not possibly would have thought 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago when I started practice. And the second point is that today I know the age of Ali Zafar. I joined in 1989, he joined in 84. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the wonderful panelists. There was immense contribution from your side. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, we need a round of applause for one thing, that the executive, the government and judiciary are on one page before T4JF at least. So this needs to be commended. And I think the takeaway of this talk would be to implement technology on urgent basis in almost everything, especially in particular the legal field. And so thank you very much, all of you, the panelists, for contributing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to the panelists, and now I'd like to invite Senator Waleed Iqbal to give the closing remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. The discussion that just concluded, I was reminded from that of a verse of Allama Iqbal, which I will share with you. The Prime Minister of Pakistan on one occasion, in a different context, quoted it to me 3-4 years ago when he was not Prime Minister. The verse is, आईने नौ से डरना, नक्शे कोहन पे चलना, मंजिल यही कठिन है कौमों की जिंदगी में. So the biggest challenge, as it was already mentioned and articulated over here, is the resistance to the biggest challenge, the biggest impediment in the lives of nations, said our poet philosopher, is the resistance to change and the desire to continue on the old path. In these, I'm very grateful to T4JF and Sara Bilal for inviting me here to present the closing remarks. As on other occasions, I had been given some talking points as well, but I thought on this subject I can stand up on my own. I will posit to you or present to you some of my own experiences in context as a lawyer and as a legislator, both, just to highlight and to appreciate कि ये इतना important जो है, इतना अहम इक़दाम जो है वो लिया जा रहा है और इसकी इतनी ज़रूरत है क्योंकि हमारे लीगल प्रोफेशन को और हमारे जस्टिस सिस्टम को दोनों को जो है बहुत से ऐसे इम्प्रूवमेंट के एरियाज़ हैं जो कि टेक्नोलॉजी और डिजिटलाइजेशन के इस्तेमाल से जो है वो दूर किए जा सकते हैं. सबसे पहले आई वांट टू सल्यूट द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान that yesterday he appeared in court and he waived his constitutional immunity in a criminal case wherein he is accused of supplying arms in connection with some political demonstration of our party. And it is not known to me that previously any president of Pakistan or head of state जिसको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोटेक्शन होती है, उन्होंने अपनी इम्यूनिटी को इस तरह से वेव किया। और जो मैं एक दो बातें करना चाहता हूँ वो इसी गुफ्तगू से ताल्लुक़ रखती हैं जो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने मीडिया से एट प्रेमिसेस ऑफ द कोर्ट जो है वो कहीं, और उनमें भी यही मसाइल थे कि जी जो जस्टिस सिस्टम है उसमें जो एक्सपीडियंसी इंट्रोड्यूस करने की ज़रूरत है, so that cases are decided particularly in our civil area where grandfather files a case and the grandchild gets the results, plus in many other areas. As a lawyer, let me give you an example of only 2 days ago. I'm pleased to tell you that on the 17th of December 2021, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, I'm representing him in a case as his lawyer. I'm otherwise generally a corporate lawyer. I don't go to court that much. But the Prime Minister of Pakistan, as a plaintiff in a suit that was filed in November 2012, and now we are in March 2022, he appeared in e-court as a witness. I was with him in the Prime Minister's house, and the case is a defamation case against a former federal minister, presently member of National Assembly, Khaja Mohammad Asif, who on the 1st of August 2012 made a press conference at Punjab House, Islamabad, and repeated those things in a Capital Talk show with Hamid Mir in Jio that same evening, 1st of August 2012, making various accusations that Imran Khan has invested zakat funds of Shaukat Khanan into Benami transactions. The notorious double Shah is more transparent than Imran Khan. Imran Khan has caused money laundering and sorry, mujhe kuch ishara kar rahe hain. And he has played satta with the charity of the public. So this was the case, and because he was coming in himself into the witness box, the court, the judge, the court of original jurisdiction under the defamation ordinance 2002 is the sessions court in Islamabad. So he allowed for that for the Prime Minister कि जी वो कोर्ट में e-court के जरिए appear करें, और उन्होंने अपनी एफिडेविट को इन एविडेंस कंफर्म किया कि जी ये मेरा ही एफिडेविट है, ये मैंने लिखवाया है, ये मैंने ही साइन किया है। एंड 2 days ago, the other 5 witnesses had to be cross-examined, the witnesses from the plaintiff's side, and we had 2 witnesses ready and sitting in my office in Lahore with my partner in the conference room in front of the computer, and I was present in court in Islamabad, and the lawyer from the other side pleaded before the court कि जी I want to cross-examine the witnesses in person. We will allow the cross-examining of the Prime Minister because he holds a constitutional office. We will do only his cross-examination via e-court. All other 5 witnesses have to be present in court physically, and we will conduct the cross-examination because of the same reasons that the very worthy lawyers and the Honorable Judge already mentioned, that they want to be present physically and, you know, of course, to provoke the witness and to see the body language and all those things. So these are the challenges that are still there. But on the 29th of April 2019, approximately 3 years ago, I made my first proper speech on the floor of the Senate. I had been elected for 4 or 5 months. It was about the criminal justice system. And lo and behold, of course it was 3 years ago, and all I did over here is pulled out my telephone and went to that speech, put my earphones on, and I listened to the relevant parts which I wanted to repeat here. ये देखें टेक्नोलॉजी मदद करती है, क्या मैंने उस तकरीर में कहा। On that speech, was the subject was mentally ill patients or prisoners who are on death row. But उसमें कुछ statistics मैंने बताई मिसाल के तौर पे। आप ये इमेजिन करें कि एक बरतानवी NGO ने पाकिस्तान के लॉ मिनिस्टर को डॉक्टर फरूक नसीम को एक रिपोर्ट दी थी in 2018 में, which said कि 78% of the cases जिसमें डेथ सेंटेंस अवार्ड हुआ हुआ, 310 cases between 2010 and 2018 में से 78% केसेस में डेथ पेनल्टी ओवरटर्न हो गई थी। रियासत एक शख्स की जान ले रही है, कैपिटल पनिशमेंट इसीलिए तो बहुत ज्यादा सेंसिटिव सब्जेक्ट है। रियासत एक शख्स की जान ले रही है और आप इमेजिन करें नियरली 80% ऑफ द कन्विक्शंस एंड द डेथ पेनल्टीज गेट ओवरटर्न्ड। और कोर्ट ने जो ऑब्जर्व किया कि क्या नुक्स है हमारे इन्वेस्टिगेशन के सिस्टम में, हमारे विटनेसेस के साथ टैंपरिंग के सिस्टम में, कस्टोडियल टॉर्चर एंड ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स, many of the issues that were attributable to the overturning of those death sentences could be overcome with the use of technology in forensics, in digitalization, in databasing and things like that. In that same speech, again, which I heard right here on my phone to remind myself what I said in 2016 के अंदर, two brothers, the Supreme Court of Pakistan acquitted two brothers, exonerated them. They were sentenced to death, and what transpires? They had already been hanged 1 year ago. Imagine. और अब अगर databasing का system हो digitalized ये सारी चीजें हों, तो we can overcome this very these very जो हमारे क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम के अंदर इतने ग्लेयरिंग, एक 2 लोगों की जान चली गई है और वो इनोसेंट थे, और वो प्रिवेंट हो सकता था टेक्नोलॉजी के इस्तेमाल से. और लास्ट बट नॉट लीस्ट, मैं आपको बताऊं, बिकॉज बहुत से लॉयर्स बैठे हैं. when I qualified in the United States, I had the good fortune of working in one of the best top law firms in the United States, and US law firms are rated above European ones. So I would say the best in the world. हमारे जो ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स होते थे वहाँ पे हमारी लॉ फर्म में हमारे जो मैनेजिंग पार्टनर whatever, I'm talking about the top law firm in the world, आप उसे कह सकते हैं, you have it on good authority. क्या 3 प्रिंसिपल्स उन्होंने बताए हैं, ये मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ आज से 25 साल पहले की बात, when I started working there. Number 1, they said brilliant and outstanding recruitment हम करेंगे law students की. बिल्कुल ठीक है जी, old economy. Number 2, we will have super league clients. And number 3, they said cutting edge technology. So cutting edge technology, whether it is in the legal profession or it is employed in our system of administration of justice, we have a lot of ground to cover, and this is a remarkable and a commendable step that has been taken to interface technology and the legal profession, and beyond that the legal justice system. Jiss tarah se as the government and the Prime Minister have said that there is so much talent in our country in this particular field, we have not been able to achieve our maximum potential generally in the area of technology. I think in the interfacing and the employment of technology in our legal profession, of course there have been magnificent examples of that, but still we have a lot of ground to cover, and this small step for man is going to be this giant leap for mankind that we have done over here today. And Chinese का वो proverb जो है कि a journey to 1,000 miles starts with a single step. तो ये single step जो आपने लिया है, you are worthy of great congratulations and greatest appreciation from the core of my heart. All the best. Good day.
Many thanks to all our guests, panelists and attendees for making this event a success. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Allah Hafiz.